Hi, I'm Professor Louise Archer. I work here at King's College London and I direct several large studies around students and their engagement with science and their aspirations. So one of the studies we've been running here at King's is the Aspires study. This is overall a 10-year longitudinal project trying to understand how young people make decisions around their identities and the future and what they want to do. Although our main study is focused on science, we're particularly interested in aspirations, and part of that is what sort of careers education do young people receive and what do they think of it. So over the 10 years, it's a large study. We've done lots of surveys and lots of interviews. We've surveyed over 30,000 students to date. But the latest phase that we've done is with Year 11 students, so age 15, 16, and we surveyed over 13,000 of those students from across England. So that's a large data set, and it tells us some really interesting things around what they want to do in the future and what kind of advice or information, advice and guidance they've received or not. So overall, we find that just under two-thirds of them say that they've received some sort of careers information recently, and around just under 45% of them say they've done some sort of work experience. When we look within that pattern, we find though that there's quite a lot of variability in terms of who is receiving careers information and education. So there's a lot of talk around about the patchy nature of careers education and concern about that. But our results show us that actually it's not just patchy, it's also patterned. So within, for example, regional or school variations, there's variations within schools or regions in terms of which sorts of students are accessing careers education. So for instance, boys are significantly more likely than girls to report receiving careers information. In terms of ethnicity, white students are much more likely than Black and Asian students to say they've received careers education, and likewise with social class. So again, same sort of pattern. The more advantaged social students from higher social classes are significantly more likely to report receiving it than those from less advantaged, the least advantaged backgrounds. This also plays out in terms of sets. Again, bottom set are much less likely to be reporting that they receive it. And this is a concern for us because in a sense it gives us a pattern that careers education is failing to reach those who need it the most. So we're interested in what could cause these patterns in this differential receipt of careers information. We think there are various things that could be influencing here. So one is that we noticed that the students who are in less well-resourced schools, so for example schools in poorer areas or more challenging circumstances, seem to be experiencing more stretched provision there. They talk about, for instance, the careers people haven't been able to get round to everybody yet. So they're not receiving as much as some of the students, for example, in the independent schools where they're very well resourced, they have a full package, they're receiving lots of different sorts of careers education, advice and guidance. There also was a feeling that maybe across the board a lot of careers information and education is coming a bit too little too late. So we talked to and interviewed the students when they were in year 11, that's 15, 16, and some of them said by the time they were getting, for example, to meet a careers advisor, they'd already made their decisions about their options, so they really wanted it to come earlier to help shape their decision-making process. There also seems to be an issue where a self-referral model is used. So the students who were making least use of that or who felt least confident in making use of self-referral models were those from more socially disadvantaged backgrounds. So we think that's something that could be looked at more usefully there. And this also relates and feeds into the issues around work experience. So most students we talked to, the great majority, said they had to organise their own work experience, and this worked better for the students who were more socially advantaged, who had more cultural capital, so more cultural and social contacts and resources. They could access nice high quality placements and get a lot out of them. But it was the students who lacked these networks who really either weren't doing work experience or who didn't have such strong experiences. So again, there's more room there for to be addressed. There was also some concerns around students around whether they were going to get impartial advice and guidance when they met people. So students wanted impartial advice, and where they felt that schools, for example, or colleges were just promoting one route, such as A-levels and sixth form, some students, particularly those who weren't wanting to go on, were much less likely to use the system or to be so satisfied with it. So we feel that on the whole the students were giving us a picture where they actually wanted more careers education and information. Those who'd received it were largely satisfied, those who weren't receiving it were dissatisfied. So it's building a picture for us where students want more, better and earlier careers education and information and advice and guidance to support them in making these choices and thinking about their futures.